Obviously this is just showing the exterior surfaces of the heart, but what's more exciting is to actually slice into the heart to start to reveal the interior structures. And this is where most of the detail in the cardiac anatomy actually is. So I can push in there, view up the left ventricle and the apex, showing mitral valve, aortic valve, fibrous continuity between the two. The level of detail of the anatomy had to be good enough to convince heart surgeons of what they were seeing. So hence the 2 years of painstaking work to try and get it to this stage. Even now, we wouldn't claim it was perfect, but it is by far the most accurate there is in the world. Also, all of the structures in the heart, as I mentioned before, are annotated, so I can actually pause the animation, highlight the structure. It will tell me what that structure is. I can then select the integrated textbook. It will highlight that structure within the textbook, and I can then bring up the information about that structure. Vice versa, if a student isn't sure where a particular structure is when they're reading the textbook, they can select the structure here, and if they can't see exactly where the structure is, I'll be hard-pressed to find one within the mitral valve, which you can't, but if I go back to here, I choose the right atrium and say where are the pectinate muscles. It's showing me somewhere inside the heart, but I can't see exactly where, so if I click this button here, what it's going to do is take me to a view and show me where that structure is. So it's quite an interactive way for students to actually start learning a lot of detail of cardiac anatomy. Now obviously really the last aspect, or the key aspect of this, which is what we set out to do in the first place, was to simulate ultrasound of this heart. So if I bring up my simulated ultrasound panel and show my simulated ultrasound probe, now my probe is currently sitting in the esophagus above my heart. Now, using the software, I'm actually going to push the probe down, and as I push it behind the heart, it starts to generate simulated ultrasound output. So if I push it down to about a mid-esophageal position, retroflex my probe slightly, so I'm getting a standard 4-chamber view of my heart. Now, it's not entirely obvious how that ultrasound image correlates to my 3D anatomy, so I can then slice my heart down that plane of sound, and then put the two alongside, so you can actually see, students can actually then see exactly how that 2D image is being generated from this 3D structure. The other thing which of course it allows us to see, which is often quite hard for students to get their heads around, we've actually been to a lot of the medical trade shows, primarily in the US, and it's amazing the number of experts who look at this and say, we had no idea that that's what the probe was actually doing when we put it in this position. Because when you push the probe right down into the stomach, and all they have to look at is this 2D ultrasound image, they don't see anything else typically. So they're used to just seeing this 2D output and understanding how that relates to the cardiac anatomy. When you show them what their probe is actually doing in 3D, they are often quite surprised by it. They had some idea that that's what was going on, but to actually see it there alongside the ultrasound image often just blows them away. And again, this ability to select structures, if I actually select a structure in the 3D view, you see it actually highlights on the ultrasound view there, so students can really correlate any structure, and again it ties in with the anatomy textbook. So what I'm now going to do, and it's going to require me to step away from the microphone, and I apologise for those of you at the back because you're not going to really see what I'm doing here, but I'm actually just going to quickly switch to our mannequin to show you that I can manipulate the probe interactively with the mannequin. And the software can be used in various modes.